It's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm going to be talking to you about all the different types of customers that I have encountered in my experience and how to most effectively communicate with them. Now, just a disclaimer here, I'm going off of my anecdotal experience as well as my business experience running my own at-home baking business and dealing with customers in the commercial baking business as well. Now, I will say that I have been these type of customers several times over, and maybe some of them not so much, but a lot of them may be in combination with one another. So it's not like these customers I'm going to be talking about are necessarily always difficult customers. They're just customers that have different needs and wants, and how communicating with them effectively is really going to make your business financially successful in the long run. So let's get into it. Of customer is the very specific customer, and this customer has basically brought you a picture where they want you to do the exact same thing. They want you to replicate every single thing on that picture. Sometimes it can get even a little bit more complicated, where not only do they want you to replicate the exact same thing, but they want to make slight but very detailed changes to the picture. Now, the best way to communicate with these people is to be really organized when you're communicating with them, and don't go back on what you say, because what they're really looking for is they're looking for that they can trust that you're going to do what they want. B, you need to make sure that you outline your limits really clearly. Sure, if you want something to look exactly like the picture, that's understandable. But as artists, we can't possibly make something look exactly like the picture. Even if the picture is from your own work, it can be really hard to do the exact same swoop and roll the fondant the exact same way every single time. So it's really important that you do outline what the limitations are of creating something exactly as is in the picture. On top of that, there could be other things that you might worry about as well, like the fact that they've asked you for a specific color or a very specific flavor. You really need to make sure that you also outline your limitations for things like that as well. The anything goes customer. So this is pretty much the exact opposite of the very specific customer. And it's the person that says, I'm good with anything. It's for a 50th birthday. Do whatever you want. And I've mentioned this before, but sometimes that can be a rabbit hole you don't want to go down. Even though the person may seem really chill, sometimes they think, oh, well, all of your work is great, so you can't possibly go wrong with decorating this cake. Now, I will say that there are some customers where truly they are that chill and they're willing to accept anything. But I've also seen instances where they say they're fine with anything, but then when it comes down to it, they're really not. So the best way to handle this type of customer is to be very specific and force them into those specifics. So for example, let's say they do ask for a 50th birthday cake. Great. Make sure that you know exactly who it's going to. Make sure that you get the size exact, the flavor exact, and the design exact. And you can say some buffer words for yourself. For example, you might say something like, I'm going to do something like this cake. I will make sure there's a chocolate drip, and I'm going to make sure that it's covered in buttercream. At this point, usually the customer that thinks anything can go will be like, great, that sounds good. And you've specified in writing, hopefully, exactly what it is that you're going to be giving them. That way, when they show up on the day to pick up the cake, there's no real big surprises, and you can kind of rest easy that, yep, they said they were fine with anything. So that really just covers you, and in case they actually are undercover picky people, you've got that nailed as well. The next person is the please make it taste good customer. I've never understood this one, and I have to say that I don't think I've ever been this customer, but whenever I'm trying to figure out the best possible way to approach a customer service issue, I really try to put myself in their shoes. So I obviously know that a lot of times when people buy super highly decorated items, the biggest complaint is that it looks beautiful, but it doesn't taste good. So in order to handle this type of customer, what I would personally do is I would tell them to order a sampler size of cupcakes or whatever the item is from me prior to placing their order. If they're actually really picky, then they will order from you and they will try it out. If they're not, chances are they're going to say something like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Now, I know I said that if they were picky, they would do that, but sometimes people just don't want to spend the money. So that can get a little bit sticky. And so you do need to say, okay, I can't really guarantee that you're going to like the taste of the cake. I can guarantee quality and freshness, but that's about it. And really, there's not too much else to say. All you're doing is making sure that you're covering your bases when they're ordering. This is a really strange one that kind of follows the same vein as the please make it taste good customer. This is the please make it really nice customer. Now, again, I don't think I've ever been this person either, or at least I'd like to think I haven't been. But you will not believe the amount of times that I've heard, oh, and please make it really, really nice. Yeah, I don't think I've ever started to make a dessert, cake, cookie, cake pop, and said, I'm gonna make this one particularly ugly today. So that's why I kind of find this one a little bit strange. I also really dislike words that make huge generalizations, like nice. Well, your nice could be different than my nice, and that's where we run into trouble. So if anybody ever says that to me after I've gone through the whole order with them, we've gone through the details, and then they say that, I very, very specifically say exactly what they're going to get. And I say, if that looks nice to you, it's going to be nice. That's kind of how I deal with that, because honestly, if they're expecting me to throw in something extra on top and that's what they mean by please make it really nice, then I really need to nip that in the bud right away. I want this 6-tiered beautiful cake, but I'm on a budget of $10. So we've all been there where people are on budgets, and I'm definitely a budget person. I really like to set limits so I don't go overboard. Although for parties in the past few years, the whole overboard has gone out the window because I always do. But for every other thing in my life, I tend to like to set a budget. So this type of customer is very easy to kind of say, oh, sorry, don't have anything for you, see you later. And I have to say that is really going to hurt your business. I remember years and years ago when I messaged a cake company and I said, hi, I'm looking for a cake and I want something simple for about $40. Now this was a few years ago, so things were a bit cheaper, but the way that the company responded was super, super off-putting. And what they said was, sorry, we don't have anything for you. And I understand if that $40 budget literally was going to cover no products that they had in store. But I think a more appropriate response would have been, our cakes start at X price. Let's say they were $65 and up. I would have at least, even at the time, been able to entertain, okay, well, I need to kind of, raise my budget a little bit if I want to be able to afford this kind of stuff. What they did instead, though, was end up turning me and possible other customers that I might have recommended away. And that's what you want to avoid. What I would do for a customer that is on a really tight budget is I would try and see what the theme is or what it was they were trying to achieve, and then at least give some sort of option. It might be something like, I'm sorry, all you can afford at my bakery is a naked ice cake with a little plastic figurine on top. That might be it. And that customer might say, oh, sorry, I want something a little bit more. So, if that happens, I think that's fine because at least you tried to give it a go. You tried to work within their budget. But just straight up saying, sorry, you can't afford this, and then peacing out is not really the way to handle those customers. In this day and age, ordering is generally done online now. Even for stores that have their own storefront, they tend to not like phone calls and they want online instead because it is a lot easier to effectively communicate and make sure that all the details are nailed down if it's in writing and you haven't come into the store to order your cake. So it's really important for us to have good communication when we are doing ordering online. But you might run into a very non-communicative customer. So let's say they paid the deposit already. You've gotten some details, but not all. And then they kind of go radio silent. So it gets a little bit tricky if they've already paid the deposit. However, this customer is actually pretty easy to handle. Just give strict guidelines and make sure that you do try to communicate with them at least 3 times before actually invoking those guidelines. So for example, let's say you say, okay, you haven't told me the flavor of your cake. You need to tell me by October 2nd, 2020 by 2:00 p.m. or else your cake will be made whatever flavor of my choosing. Very, very specific things that you are looking for. Generally, if people have already paid for something, then there's that. But there are some times when they haven't paid for it and they haven't communicated and they think that you're making their cake. So again, you just have to get it down in writing that you've asked them for a specific order and their payment and they haven't given it to you by X date. So unfortunately, you didn't make their cake. This more so happens in commercial bakery settings, I find, because I feel like people have that notion that commercial bakeries can just pump out cakes like no other, when they really can't, because it's still a limited number of staff making things. Now, this isn't to say that this customer won't get upset with you still, but this is the best and most effective way to communicate with them, because it's the only way for you to ensure that you did everything possible. And finally, probably one of the most difficult type of customers to deal with, but I think we can all safely say we've probably been in these shoes, so it's understandable. We need to come at this from a place of understanding so that we don't get people defensive about what we're saying. That is really, really important. So sometimes I feel like the I want a discount customer is very valid. If you made a mistake, then you're gonna have to do something in order to appease them. I always say, and I've said this in videos before, don't give monetary discounts. That's the fastest way to kill your business. Instead, either give more product or give a discount for future products. That's the best way to do it and the best way to keep your business staying afloat. And hopefully you don't have too many of these complaints and too many errors that you actually have to discount. Now, there are the 1 or 2 circumstances where, yep, you're going to need to discount them or refund them fully for a mistake that you've made. But I feel like the more common thing and the more common customer we get is the discount person that doesn't really need a discount. Now, here are very general reasons why I wouldn't give somebody a discount. Your cake was dry. That's a hard one. Anytime it's about taste or texture of a cake or quality of a product, I mean, there's so many factors. You could have left the cake sitting out. Maybe you didn't cut it in time. Maybe you told us the day of your event was actually 2 days before your actual event. We don't know what happens once the cake leaves the premise. So that's why it's really hard to give a discount for these things. Also, taste is really, really subjective. And it's not like you have pieces of the cake to give back to me so I can taste it the way you can in a restaurant. So for that reason, I would not give that particular complaint a discount. Instead, what I would say to that customer is, I'm really sorry. Would you like a batch of free cupcakes that are fresh? I don't know. That's something that I would probably say. Another complaint is color complaints. Color complaints are huge. So, oh, this had a pink undertone to it and I wanted a more bluish undertone or what have you. The problem is that lighting is so different everywhere. So again, I don't think I would give a discount for something like that either. These are probably the trickiest customers to handle because they're obviously already upset at you. The other customers are not necessarily upset at you, but I was more telling you how to prevent from anything happening. Whereas this is kind of like, it's done, bad things are already happening. So you just gotta be direct and stick to whatever it is that your policy is. There are some things that tend to be a little bit stickier than others, so you will have to work through that. There's another type of customer within the give me a discount customer. Now, if they didn't like the product or you did something wrong, then that's one thing. But there's also the other ones that like a discount because they just want a discount. And for those people, it's a lot easier to handle than the other type of I want a discount person. Like I mentioned in previous videos, when I first started selling baked goods, I was young. And so people could see that in my face and would try to take advantage of me. Now, truth be told, I actually look very similar to how I looked when I was 19 to how I look now. But I think because I came off as young as well, I would kind of crumble sometimes and let people haggle with me. Within the past couple years though, I rarely ever dealt with people telling me that they want a discount. Instead, I said, sorry, these prices are non-negotiable. And that pretty much ended it, most of the time. The final customer that I really came across in my years of being a cake decorator and cookie decorator was, this bakery is selling it for much cheaper customer. So this definitely piggybacks onto the discount customer. And for that one, I say, then go to that bakery. So I really hope that helped you guys. I know when I was first starting out as an at-home baking business and even down the road, I had a lot of these customers come into my life, and it would have been helpful to have some sort of guide on how to handle them. And really, it took just years of experience for me to learn, and it also took some life experience for me to understand how they feel too. I think it is important to have empathy when you're dealing with other customers in order to effectively communicate with them. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of this Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm still uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. Now, for those of you that don't know, I have a goal of uploading daily for a whole year. So my year began in March. If you want to continually see me upload daily, then please, please, please spread the word, share my videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!